Your Olympic hero has arrived. It's true, it's true.
You're watching Fugitive Red Eye, and welcome to another rant/random thoughts. That's right, another random thoughts. And in today's episode, I'm doing a follow-up on a previous rant. A while back, I did a live rant called The Decay of the Internet. And in this one, I kind of wanted to follow up on that and talk a little bit about it. That one was a live rant, this is a random thoughts, but, you know, same diff. So, Discord initially backed off of their ID verification bullshit. They pushed it back for now, right? But there's a good chance they're going to try it again in the future, especially with, there's new legislation that just passed the House while I was on vacation, apparently about sites and things requiring ID verification. Now, I myself haven't really looked into the details of it specifically, but, you know, this ever-encroaching attack on online anonymity and online privacy just continues onward, and anything that's, you know, people backing off and things getting different, eventually shit's gonna go bad eventually, right? Like, with, eBay. The site used to be yellow. They tried changing it to white. Everybody freaked out. So then they slowly made it white over time by making it slightly brighter over the course of a year, and then nobody gave a shit. I mean, there's still people that are excited for GTA 6 and will buy it, despite the fact that GTA 6 will be a digital-only game that costs $80 for a base version, and $120 if you want to get access to all the content that's available at launch because of stupid bonuses. All those points I made about things just getting worse and harder to do anything online definitely stand true. At the end of the day, we'll see what happens and how things go, but the internet is just getting worse when it comes to restrictions, when it comes to having to have accounts, ID, and things like that. The things that are irritating is, like, if everyone gets their IDs on every site's database, it's literally just going to be, like, a lot easier for data breaches and hackers and identity theft, right? And it's like you hear these politicians that say, big tech needs to be held accountable, so let's give them all your personal information. That'll really teach them. It's fucking absurd to me, the amount of copium people will take to accept any of this kind of shit. Anytime there's a think of the children argument, or, you know, we need to hold these companies accountable. It's never actually about that. It's about suppressing you and making things harder and cracking down on you and making everything irritating to do. Another point I wanted to bring up is a lot of people who used to make good content just end up becoming like generic shills who make awful content. YouTube itself is not at all what it used to be. There used to be lots of genuine, fun, and entertaining creators who made stuff because they enjoyed making it. And even when they were making money on it, there were some of them that were still genuinely doing what they wanted to do. But nowadays, everyone has to kowtow to normal social norms, right? They have to try and be as inoffensive as possible and try and, like, appease, like, sponsors and advertisers and shit like that. And it's like, there's a lot of creators that I used to like and respect that I just don't anymore. There's the obvious ones, like the political commentators who have all disappointed me, you know, like Razorfist, John Doyle. I used to even watch Steven Crowder back in the day, but he's always been a lot more, like, obviously corporate, and, like, it wasn't as surprising that he would become kind of a generic shill and also, like, have really bad opinions when it comes to, like, Israel and stuff. But it's not just, like, political commentators that become more frustrating over time for me. Like, a lot of YouTubers I watch just for fun and escapist reasons, where I just want to enjoy, like, gaming or movie reviews and shit. A lot of those have become, like, unbearable at times, too. Like, Dr. Wolfula is one that I've watched quite a bit, and he's just been a lot more bland and less funny lately, and, you know, there's little comments he makes here and there that are kind of cringe, and just make me think, you know, he's just appealing to the normies, you know, that kind of thing. Not that I ever think he was ever, like, a super-based guy or anything, because he's just a horror movie reviewer. I don't know what his takes are on individual issues, and I don't really care, but a lot of his stuff just feels super generic and mainstream and plastic. And that's not me trying to necessarily throw shade at the guy. It's, you know, at the end of the day, I'll still watch a video or two of his and be fine with it. But it's just not as entertaining as it used to be. Or take Mudahar, for example. So I used to love watching his old fucking content where he would just do creepypasta readings and reviews, right? When he'd do stuff like that. And then he just became the most generic, fence-sitting, fucking center-left critical clone, where all he does is just talk about news and drama. And there are things he's brought awareness to the past with his news videos that have been good to draw attention to, right? You know, with things that actually were relevant, things like, you know, SOPA and PIPA and things trying to crack down on the internet back then, too. So it's not to say that that was inherently always a problem, but he's just gotten much more worse. He always has the most generic take, and he's also just very boring and not entertaining and just doesn't come across as a genuine person. Now, I loved his creepypasta readings, even though he never actually was, truth be told, that great of a narrator. He would constantly add in phrases like, you know, and like, and would, breathe constantly in the video without editing it out. And it's like, sometimes I'll leave in breaths and shit when I'm doing like a ramble or a rant like this, but when I'm doing a reading or a narration, definitely not. Or hell, there's a Pokemon YouTuber that I still watch and I haven't turned off and like I still enjoy watching, but JRose11, right? And the guy's pretty entertaining. I really like his Pokemon runs, but there was a comment he made on a recent one that I was like, that's really, really fucking cringe. Because he was talking about the kind of conversations that they have on streams, and then he said, oh, they were talking about what is the best representation of a queer couple in fiction, and I'm like, why is this a conversation you're having? That's really fucking cringe. That's so lame. Like, queer representation is such a fucking faggoty, pun intended, concept to talk about. And so hearing that, I'm just like, man, that is fucking lame. Like, thank God I only watch your edited Pokemon runs. You could be insufferable if I was watching you on, like, live stream. 'Cause, you know, just generic fucking leftist retarded bullshit that I obviously disagree with and don't like being pushed all the time. It would just be annoying to fucking have to listen to that on a stream. Another problem is a lot of YouTube now is just fucking retarded video essays that all parrot the same point and are generic as hell. But a lot of people just don't make the content I like anymore. And again, these guys that I've mentioned, I'm not intentionally just throwing shade at them. Like I said, JRose11 especially, I still like and enjoy his content. And you know, Doug's got some retarded political views too, but I still enjoy his content. I also hate that things are increasingly becoming more and more online and digitized and having to require it. This isn't entirely just about the decay of the internet with this part, but like Sony discontinuing games and also having that DRM thing where you have to connect every 30 days, and then if you're not online for 3 years, they'll also delete your entire account. So it's like, now you gotta worry about bullshit like that, too, in addition to all this other shit with being online. Like, again, my PS4, I'm tempted to never take it online again. I'm tempted to just play the games that I've got and never connect again, which, again, if I never connect again, I can't play Deltarune Chapter 4, or Chapter 5, rather. But I also haven't had a lot of interest in that, because it's just been more of the same quirk chungus cringe that every other indie thing is now, and I've just been so fucking burnt out and annoyed with all that shit lately, like, now's just not a time I'm interested in Deltarune at all. Not to mention there's some cringe shit about them putting Ralsei in a dress and stuff, but, you know. Again, Deltarune's a good game, but it does have some gay shit in it. But, like, another channel that I wanted to bring up is, these companies that start out as like a bunch of friends just making stuff for fun, and then they rise to the top and they enjoy doing it, and then they just have massive downfalls. And this was actually part of the impetus for me wanting to make this, was talking about Screw Attack and Stuttering Craig. Now, I've never been the hugest fan of either, but there were Screw Attack things that I enjoyed. I've never been a huge fan of Death Battle. I watched a few of them here and there, but obviously I loved AVG, and still do. I still defend James Rolfe to this day. I think Cinemassacre truthers are actually really cringe. But, like, you know, Screw Attack basically became, like, generic, shill, grift shit. Like, I don't like the term grifter, but that's absolutely what Stuttering Craig and his, like, quote-unquote real game awards and dumb bullshit like that is. It's, like, the most generic, quote-unquote anti-woke stuff when they actually don't really care about that, because they'll excuse it in other things. It's just a matter of, like, talking about, like, what's profitable for their new brand, right? Like, with the new Side Scrollers podcast. And it's like, I don't disagree with some of the takes they have. Like, obviously, I don't like woke games and shit either. I think that shit's fucking awful. In fact, I go even further, because these people still buy games, they still play games, and they still gave, like, their fucking awards to fucking Claire Obscure, just like the other game awards did. And then you find out, like, behind the scenes, there was a lot of backstabbing and one-upping and shit like that with Screw Attack too, which isn't that surprising, because once Screw Attack became a definite business, it became a lot more corporate. But another example would be Rooster Teeth. Rooster Teeth, back in the days of Red vs. Blue, the earlier seasons, felt like just a bunch of guys just making a show that was fun to watch. And it was really entertaining, it was great, and then all of a sudden, Rooster Teeth became like a big piece of shit. Like, they became a huge corporate entity, and then they ousted Vic Mignogna during the whole Kick Vic bullshit, which was fucking awful. Like, again, Vic Mignogna, is one guy I'll actually defend in the anime voice acting sphere because I hate all of the others. Most American anime voice actors are the most narcissistic piece of shits who think that the fans owe them something rather than the other way around. And they all have, like, the same generic political opinions. They're all in these little cliques, and it's very much a club, right? And the problem is a lot of quote-unquote indie animation and indie projects we see online end up devolving into that and becoming that. Vic Mignogna's the only one that I actually think is a real human being. And, you know, he's not perfect either. He did, like, cheat on his wife. That was part of the whole scandal. And he's admitted his wrongdoings in that. But at the end of the day, like, creating a smear campaign to make up a bunch of shit about him and then oust him from all the companies he was in, that's fucked up. But then not only did they oust Vic Mignogna, but they literally ousted Joel Heyman, which was one of the founding members of Rooster Teeth, the guy who played Caboose. They ousted him because he had a difference of political opinions than them. And then Rooster Teeth just started making a bunch of slop. Like, Ruby I always thought was fucking awful slop. It was basically the poor man's Soul Eater. But even people who like the show will admit that the show became really bad in the later seasons. Because it just became pretty generic slop. Again, I stand to reason that the only thing that was ever good about the show was the soundtrack and the fight scenes that Monty put in. Even though, again, I'd never cared for the animation style, never cared for the plot, never cared for any of that. Monty knew how to make a fight, which is why Red vs. Blue seasons 8, 9, and 10 were so good. Then you get all these different connections with Rooster Teeth and Machinima and Screw Attack, and they all get connected with each other and become just like corporate beasts that are completely soulless. And it's interesting, all of them got connected at one point, in one way or another, and now, none of them exist anymore. All of those companies are now defunct. And it's like, this goes into my lolcow detractor rant that I did the other day as well. A lot of people who supposedly shouldn't be offended by dumb bullshit will get offended by dumb bullshit if it's against someone they don't like. Like, they'll be against canceling and shit, but then when Darkside Phil makes a joke, they're like, oh, that joke's unacceptable, even 10 years ago. Bullshit. Fuck you, Adam Krigler. Really bad take. Again, lots of people that are supposedly right-wing will be cringe and, like, have leftist fucking rhetoric when it's convenient. Or there's a lot of these groups that are quote-unquote anti-woke, or there's even channels that I do like Mahler, who will excuse shit in video games that he would never excuse in a movie because he doesn't care. And speaking of all this shit with video games, you know, online gaming culture is not at all what it used to be. Xbox Live used to be super social. You'd play with a bunch of buddies. You'd meet a bunch of people online. Everyone would be talking in game chat. Hell, we played Phantasy Star Universe demo just to talk with people. Nobody actually gave a shit about the game. The game itself was just a medium to talk to people and fuck around. Now you go online and you try to play a game and it's all just generic fucking esports shooters. You can get banned for fucking swearing or using quote-unquote hate speech or whatever when you're playing an M-rated game, when trash talk, again, was just part of the culture back then. And that's the problem, too, with the internet not having been gatekept at all and being so mainstream now. And obviously something like the internet is a Pandora's box that you never can truly, you know, gatekeep with how accessible it is now. But it's also incredibly annoying how dependent everything is on it. Like I've said, things at work having to be connected through websites and servers and shit like that, like having to use cloud printing when we had a perfectly good printer plugged into the fucking computer before, having to use apps and websites to check attendance and things like that, having to switch to new systems when the company decides they want to switch to new systems. But yeah, we slowly move more and more into an era where everything's becoming subscription services instead of just buying products, and people will bitch about it initially, but ultimately just accept it in the end, which is incredibly infuriating and drives me up the fucking wall. And again, like I said, with everything being so connected online and everything, it gets way easier for people to scam you, hack you, steal your identity, all sorts of shit. And it's really frustrating that that goes on, and that that's made easier by requiring everything to be connected to the internet. Like, every gadget we get now has to be connected to the fucking internet, like a fucking smart fridge and shit like that. Like, why the hell do you need a fucking smart fridge? It's a fucking fridge, nigga. It keeps food cold. What do you need to connect it to the internet for? But yeah, at this point I'm just rambling on. I like the way that YouTube used to be. I like a lot of the fun and craziness that early internet used to be. I think the internet ultimately was a mistake, even though I do like a lot of it, because it makes us, like, really antisocial and disconnected, and it gets people confused and shit like that, and there's all these narratives out there that make it impossible to know what to follow, which, I mean, it's good that information is more accessible in theory, but also there's so much shit just flooded out there, it's impossible to fucking make sense of anything. It's really irritating. And on top of that, search engines are getting worse now, where they won't show the actual results you're searching for, in addition to things getting scrubbed so it's harder to find, plus the fact that a lot of search engines now bring up their own AI overviews, which are often inaccurate and could easily be used to spread an agenda if someone is programming the AI to do so. Another problem you run into is places in Europe especially, where people get arrested for making a post when real crimes aren't fucking prosecuted. People get arrested for being mean and offensive online, which is absolutely fucking retarded. And though I think that the internet was a detriment to society, especially with the advent of social media and smartphones and things like that, I do miss a lot of what it used to be, and a lot of the fun that used to be had, and I hate how sanitized everything's getting, how things are getting scrubbed, how fucking sites are being harder and harder to access, and it's all getting pushed by both sides politically for different reasons, and it's incredibly frustrating. And I hate the fucking narratives around it when they act like it's for our own good, it's to protect children, blah blah blah, when it's like, people just need to fucking parent. And they're like, oh, that's impossible in this day and age. It's like, no, that's enabling. That's what you're fucking doing. You're saying, oh yeah, the kids have to have a tablet. They have to be sat down with a smartphone. They have to have this. Like, motherfucker, I had a flip phone until 2017. So, you can't tell me that a kid has to be plopped in front of that the whole fucking time. If they need shit for school and stuff, that's one thing, but you can very easily restrict and limit that. And you can say, well, yeah, but what if they go to a friend's house and they get all this? Sure, but at the same time, does that just mean you give up and completely remove any responsibility from the parent from even fucking trying to do anything? If there's shit out there that they shouldn't see, they're gonna get it, no matter how much you restrict the fucking internet. People used to fucking take porno mags when they were kids. People used to watch shit late night on TV when they weren't supposed to. People just need to fucking be parents and stop expecting everyone else to fucking do it. At the end of the day, things are only gonna get more irritating and worse from here, which drives me fucking nuts. Anyway, I've rambled on enough. I hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good one. Toodles.
Subscribe, the Fugitive Red Eye.